Right now, breaking news on News Channel 8.
We do begin with breaking news. A manhunt underway right now in Atlanta. Police say one person is dead, 4 others in critical condition following a shooting. Nearby schools were placed on lockdown. This witness video shows police arriving at Northside Medical where it all took place. Now we want to give you a look at the suspect. Atlanta police have identified the man as Dion Patterson. They say they're still looking for him, and he should be considered armed and extremely dangerous. In the last few minutes, we've learned the shelter-in-place order at the hospital's been lifted. According to Atlanta police, the suspect was at the medical facility for an appointment with his mother. Right now, officers are trying to figure out whether a carjacking near the scene was related to the shooting. We'll keep you updated as we learn more.
And good afternoon to you. I'm Josh Benson.
And I'm Stacey Scheibel. Thank you for joining us. Now to team coverage on the man accused of fatally shooting a mother and her 3 children at an apartment complex in Lake Wales.
That's right. The suspect was killed by police this morning after an hours-long standoff in Sanford. News Channel 8 Stacey DeSilva will join us in a few minutes with the latest on those details.
But first, we turn to Brittany Muller, who joins us live outside of that apartment complex. Police say that the family was actually killed at that apartment complex yesterday morning.
Stacey, Josh, good afternoon to you both. Investigators are now working to learn why Al Stenson shot and killed his girlfriend and her 3 children inside this apartment right behind me in Lake Wales.
During the late hours of Tuesday night, family discovered the bodies of a 40-year-old mother and her 3 children, ages 11, 17, and 21. They were found shot to death inside their home at Sunrise Apartments in Lake Wales.
Right now, the most important thing we need to keep in mind is the family. This is a very tragic, horrific situation that they're dealing with.
The Seminole County Sheriff says 38-year-old Al Stenson murdered his girlfriend and her 3 kids before taking off to Sanford. Family identified the woman as Marlene Pizarro. Neighbors tell us she was an ESE teacher at Lake Wales High School.
They seem like a normal, happy couple to me. He was always sitting under the tree listening to music, and they were walking their dogs together. It just seemed like a normal, happy couple, but I guess you never know what's going on with people.
While neighbor Heather Hayter didn't see or hear the violence that unfolded near her apartment, she says she saw the mom and her kids daily.
One was going to graduate this month from Lake Wales High School, and the other, I believe, was an elementary student.
Police have not said what the motive is behind the shooting. Family says they're planning on holding a vigil here at the apartment complex for the 4 people who were shot and killed. Reporting live this afternoon from Lake Wales, Brittany Muller, 8 on your side.
And this tragic case involving the slaughter of a family ended in a barrage of gunfire more than 70 miles away in Seminole County.
News Channel 8 Stacey DeSilva is at that scene with how it all came to an end.
Authorities say the suspect's brother was staying at this motel in Sanford, so this is where Al Stenson came, and this is where he died. The first thing authorities say they spotted was Al Stenson's car across the street from the Slumberland Motel in Sanford.
And ultimately, the Lake Wales police officers, detectives, and the Sanford police detectives saw the suspect walking across the street, and around 3 o'clock in the morning contacted the Seminole County Sheriff's Office and combined municipality SWAT team.
That's when Seminole County Sheriff Dennis Lima says negotiations with the accused quadruple killer began.
During those conversations, they were talking with the suspect's brother. In the background, they could hear the suspect, so there was a pretty reliability confirmation that he was at this location.
The sheriff says hours passed and negotiators got Stenson to come out of the hotel room and put a handgun on the ground. Then officials deployed a foam baton to, as the sheriff says, neutralize the threat.
We successfully deployed that, but it had little effect on the suspect. The suspect immediately went for the gun on the ground. And at this time, we don't know if he actually picked the gun up, put it in his hand, but he was going for the firearm.
3 members of the multi-jurisdictional SWAT team and a Sanford police officer fired at Stenson, killing him.
The unfortunate end is that this individual chose to end it in the manner in which he did.
The Florida Department of Law Enforcement is now reviewing and investigating the shooting that occurred here. In Sanford, I'm Stacey DeSilva, 8 on your side.
And we have the latest information on both incidents for you on our website at WFLA.com.
And more breaking news right now. An investigation is underway into criminal cyber activity that targeted the Hillsborough County Supervisor of Elections office. According to the Supervisor of Elections, Craig Latimer, someone illegally accessed files on a shared drive on their network. Federal, state, and local law enforcement agencies are all looking into the breach. We're told the person who accessed the drive did not have access to the county's voter registration system or ballot tabulation system.
New at 4, the Senate Banking Committee will hold a hearing on 2 high-profile banking collapses, and that's later this month. They'll be hearing from the former top executives at Silicon Valley Bank and Signature Bank. Lawmakers have directed plenty of anger at the banking industry and at regulators, but there is a little agreement on whether more laws are needed.
And the Federal Reserve today voted to again raise the interest rate, this time by 0.25%. The Fed kind of in a pickle right here, admitting last week that its rate hikes are partially to blame for those recent bank failures. This is the highest interest rates have been since 2007.
Switching it up now, rip current risks are being monitored at our beaches, and you can see here that most of the Bay Area right now is under a moderate risk.
Today, Manatee County Beach Patrol worked hand in hand with the West Manatee Fire Rescue, doing training exercises for different scenarios they might face, like rip currents. News Channel 8's Allison Henning has more from Coquina Beach.
You can see the conditions behind me are pretty rough out here. In fact, lifeguards have the red flag flying out here today. Not great for swimming, but ideal for training and practicing rescues. Covering Anna Maria Island, Manatee County Beach Patrol and West Manatee Fire Rescue respond to a lot of the same calls with the same mission in mind, to save a victim in distress. They've never trained together in the past, but now that's changing. And Lieutenant David Snyder says it's long overdue.
There's a lot of shoreline here, and we want them to be able to do rescues and active victim rescues or whatever the scenario calls for safely and effectively.
For 3 days this week, firefighter paramedics are taking the plunge into the water alongside lifeguards, working on water entry techniques from high stepping to dolphin diving. Both moves aim at getting rescuers through the water and to a victim as quickly as possible.
There's oftentimes something that's needed down the beach that we're going to go. We're going to go as fast as we can, but they may be able to get there a little faster. So if they're able to get there and make entry and get to that victim faster, that's definitely going to save lives.
During Wednesday's session, firefighter paramedic Casey Fishback was navigating through pretty rough waters, similar to what she might experience on a real call.
This is the water type conditions that we're actually going to have, people getting stuck out there or whatever, so it's very taxing and exhausting, but we just kept doing repetitions out there, kept going out there, doing different scenarios, trying to get us all on the same page, like I said, just in case we do need to make a rescue.
Aside from practicing the rescue techniques, another purpose of this training was to build some familiarity between the lifeguards and the firefighters, ultimately improving their working relationship for future calls. Reporting from Anna Maria Island, Allison Henning, 8 on your side.
And take a look at this great video. NOAA released this interesting video showing just how rip currents work underwater. They put some green dye in the water, and take a look at that. Look at how quickly that dye moves out into the ocean in a very specific line. That's a rip current right there. Rebecca Berry joins us now. Rebecca, we see these rip currents, how they occur in the water. That's one thing, but if you're standing on the shoreline, can you spot these things?
You can, and it's pretty easy once you figure out how they work. And so the bigger volume of water is pushed on the shore. It has to go back out. So it finds that weak point and forms this rip current. So it's a fast moving channel of water away from the coastline. And so all you have to do is get to one side or the other of it. And if you don't have the mind for that, just float and you'll eventually make your way to the outside of it. And if you are trying from the shore to determine if there's a rip current or not, look for the areas without foam. Here's the rip current in this picture because the waves are crashing, creating all of that foam, but the water that's headed out and overpowering the waves doesn't allow for that foam. So if you look for the areas with less foam, that's more likely going to be a rip current. And so that's how you spot them from the shore. Now, the good news is we're looking at much lighter onshore winds for the next couple of days, so we're not expecting a high risk for rip currents. In fact, it's going to be beautiful for beach and boating. It's not starting tomorrow and through the weekend. Coming up in just a few moments, we'll talk about the lovely cool down that's headed our way tonight and how chilly you're going to wake up tomorrow in your neighborhood. Coming up next.
That sounds good. And don't forget, 8 is on your side, no matter what the weather brings. You can track storms and the latest forecast with our Max Defender 8 team for free on our WFLA app.
Well, still to come, a Tampa Bay family is trying to rebound after losing their food truck in a fire.
How the community has rallied together to show support and help this family in a time of need.
Plus, more suspects have been arrested in connection to a mass shooting in Texas. Details on that in just a few minutes.
Watch Max Defender 8 and start preparing for the upcoming hurricane season. News Channel 8 Sports is sponsored by the Tampa Bay area Volkswagen dealers.